On a sunny morning, there were two soldiers on field duty. They were monitoring a meeting between the army and a client. Then came several soldiers who were negotiating. One of them was called Ghost. Yasha saw Ghost getting out of the car. Suddenly, Yasha remembered what happened when he was a child, when his father was shot dead. Yasha saw the Ghost's face vaguely like the man who shot his father. Then he reflexively fired a bullet at Ghost. After that, there was a shootout between the soldiers and the client's men. Yasha's friend was killed by a bomb thrown by the client. The next day, Yasha woke up in a room that looked dirty. Then he danced a dance that he practiced as a child. Then he left the house. He exercised and practiced martial arts using pieces of tree trunks. After that, he went to a cafe to meet his partner, but he saw some thugs inside. Yasha told his partner, Sergey, that he needed professional soldiers instead of thugs. He replied that these people were also professionals in their fields. They had their own skills such as engineering, martial arts, and secretarial. He told Yasha to accept his cooperation with them. He was forced to accept the decision. A beautiful woman walked into the meeting room filled with men. Her name was Eva. When she arrived, she was treated badly by one of the men. Eva slapped him. However, it caused an argument between the men in the room. Then Eva went to the security room that contained the CCTV screen. But soon she came out. In the afternoon, Yasha and his group went to an arms factory. Yasha is on a mission to find his father's killer while helping Sergey obtain the business he wants. Then they entered the factory cautiously. Yasha entered first with a partner who was a specialist in engineering. They cheat the images displayed on the CCTV that is connected to the security room. Once Yasha felt the situation was safe, he told his friends to enter the factory. Yasha assigned those with martial arts skills to beat up the soldiers inside the factory. Then Yasha arrived at a room filled with shareholders. He tried to negotiate with them, but the shareholders invited Yasha and his friends to fight. After Eva left the security room, she rushed to a room to get a key. Then Eva left her office quietly. Inside the factory, the situation was still quite safe. Yasha and his partners went to the production floor. They fought the soldiers who were there. Yasha and his colleagues did not realize that one soldier had escaped. The soldier reported the robbery at the factory to the police station. He told them that there was an invasion at the factory. But Colonel Alexander didn't look panicked. Instead, he asked if anyone was seriously injured. Then he had the young policeman, Peter, locked up the soldier. Then the factory security turned off the lights in the factory and then turned them back on. It was then that Yasha and his friends felt that the factory knew about this incident. They rushed to the important persons at the factory, but in the office. The security guard already knew the robbers were coming. He closed the office door. But Yasha's partners were easily able to open the door. They were surprised to see 4 men carrying dusk, ready to fight. They'd fought with each other. Still, Yasha and his partner were able to defeat them. Then Sergey made an offer with the employees to send him the factory shares, but they needed the signature of the company's CEO. Meanwhile, the CEO is still hiding in his room. Yasha's partners tried to get into the CEO's room, but one of them was injured. So the offer was postponed. Then Colonel Alexander came to the factory. He spoke to Sergey through a microphone outside the factory. Meanwhile, Sergey spoke into the microphone in the security room. The colonel said that the robbery should have been carried out quietly, as the civilians around the factory would have immediately reported the incident to the authorities. Sergey said that Alexander and he had agreed that the robbery could be carried out and that he would not hurt the factory employees. As Sergey and Colonel Alexander argued, the CEO saw Alexander through the window. The CEO, whose name was Vasily, said that Alexander could leave the factory because he was fine without his help. Hearing that, Alexander was embarrassed to be caught cooperating with Sergey. Nikita told his partner to open the door to Vasily's room, so they could legalize the transfer of shares. Nikita gave him 5 minutes to open the door. But Nikita's partner denied it and said that there were weapons in the CEO's room, so he didn't dare open the door. Then the man left. He found Eva, who had quietly entered the factory. Eva tried to hide but failed. Just as she is about to be harassed by Nikita's denying colleague, Nikita comes in. Nikita fought to protect Eva. Then the thugs who disobeyed Nikita's orders arrived. In the end, Nikita fought all 5 of them. After he fought off the thugs, Nikita took Eva outside. But soon the thugs approached Nikita, who was standing in front of Vasily's room. They beat Nikita until she was weak. Then Sergei tried to persuade Vasily to sign the share transfer documents. He grabbed Eva and tried to undress her in front of the security camera connected to Vasily's room. Vasily comes out with a shotgun. But suddenly Nikita woke up and kicked Sergei's ass. Nikita saved Eva by entering Vasily's room. While in the CEO's room, Nikita snatched the gun from Vasily's hand. Vasily was shocked to find out that the man was Nikita. He had no idea that little Nikita was still alive. Vasily only knew Nikita disappeared with his grandfather after Nikita's father died. He asked Vasily to show the armory. But suddenly Eva told him that she knew the location of the armory. In addition, she said that she was an assistant detective in the police department. She told her that the police had accidentally seized a truckload of weapons. But a month later, Eva's boss disappeared while investigating the case. Moments later, Nikita noticed that the police from the head office had arrived. He asked Vasily if he had contacted them, but Vasily claimed that he hadn't contacted them at all. Alexander didn't expect the news of the robbery to reach the head office, so they came to the factory to stop the robbery. Sergei was also shocked when he found out about the police. His men urged him to solve the problem. Nikita tried to get out of the factory. Once outside, he saw several people enter through the gate, while Sergei and his men prepared for the arriving police. Sergei introduced himself as the future owner of the factory. Meanwhile, his men pretended to be rappers, but the police didn't believe them, so the police shot some of Sergei's men. Then Nikita arrived. He defeated the policemen. He even saved his partner, who was almost shot by the police. Sergei's men were angry with him because he didn't give them weapons in this fight. Finally, one of his men fought Sergei until Sergei fell. Then Nikita asked them to leave the building. Vasily and Eva also followed Nikita's orders, but Nikita stayed in the factory to wait for his father's killer to arrive. As Nikita's partners headed for the exit, suddenly someone opened fire from outside the bus. Finally, they stopped. The man who killed Nikita's father had arrived at the factory. He ordered the people on the bus out. They were tied up and moved to a room in the factory. Meanwhile, Nikita watched the events from afar. At first, he wanted to shoot the man in the head, but he decided against it. Some soldiers were assigned to go through the warehouse and bring the remaining weapons. Nikita easily finished off the 2 soldiers who were assigned to walk through the warehouse. While Nikita's partners were being held captive, Nikita's father's killer, Ghost, asked who was behind this robbery plan. Sergei explained that he was the mastermind. Unfortunately, he was shot dead shortly afterward. Moments later, the men tried to contact the second squad assigned to search the warehouse, but they didn't answer him. He realized something was wrong. Then he ordered his soldiers to prepare to fight the enemy, which was Nikita. Nikita managed to get into the room where his friends were being held. He told them to leave by bus, but Vasily, Eva, Peter, and one of the thugs called Gladiator helped Nikita. They battled the soldiers on the outside of the building. Then Gladiator decided to enter the armory. He found a bomb that was connected throughout the warehouse. He sadly detonated the bomb, and he died instantly. Nikita was still inside the factory. He fought off many soldiers. When Nikita became trapped in a room, Peter came to help him out. Until he met his father's killer. The killer was injured by a bomb blast. Nikita said hello to him. He introduced his nickname, Yasha. He also said that he wanted justice. The Ghost, his father's killer, did not know about Nikita's intentions. Unthinkingly, Nikita invited him to fight. At first, Nikita was nearly killed, but he was able to survive. Soon he stabbed the man in the stomach until he fell limp. In fact, the man was not dead. He stood up as if he wanted to fight Nikita. Nikita was annoyed. Finally, he shot him dead. Nikita felt very relieved to see him dead. Then Vasily, Eva, and Peter approached Nikita, who was sitting down. Vasily asked Nikita to leave the factory, but Peter suddenly said that he would arrest the three of them. Hearing that, Eva was angry. She said that Nikita saved many people, including Peter, but Peter was still very firm. Nikita surrendered to Peter's decision. This was because Nikita felt that he had avenged the murderer of his father.